Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, we're live. This is episode 303. 303 of those. 303 episodes. 303 amazing episodes. Thanks to everybody who has been watching these. All 303. That would be amazing. What are we doing today? We're going to be working on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. We're going to finish the shading on page 79 and then hopefully get to flat colors. That's kind of my hope. It's going to be a longer work session, so strap in for the ride. Aside from that, let's see. Christopher Runciman had a really good stream today. Watched that. That was kind of fun. Aside from that, just gonna be working. So that's kind of the goal here. Oh, there's another thing. So I was supposedly gonna have, I thought, my meeting today. I talked about it in episode 303 or 302. And I left to go attend said meeting and forgot that the meeting is actually Wednesday. I wasn't looking at my organizer, my list of things to do. Which I think is funny because we just did an Artcasters episode on Corey Kerr's channel talking about organization and planning. And you can see why I make lists, because I am one of those people, I'll forget it's not Wednesday when it's Tuesday. This is an awesome mug. It says nuts about you. So this is a mug, I believe. Did you buy this, Mai? The Nuts About You mug? Yeah, my wife bought it for me. And we're going to just work on art. So we finished the crazy page. There's a crazy page that I've been working on like the last few streams. There was a point when I was penciling it where I was doubting myself. I wasn't really sure whether this was worth it. I was doing every single figure in the crowd, and I finally shaded it. So let me show you how that came out. I finished the shading for this while Christopher Runciman was streaming, and then I took a mild power nap to basically prepare to get the rest of this done today. So that's my goal. I'm really happy with how that came out, especially now that it's toned. I think once color's laid in there, it's going to look pretty fantastic. So I'm very happy with how that looks toned. So we added these tones just to kind of bring forward all the little details and the lighting in the picture, and we used our rough as like a reference for like what way we're going to go with the lighting. This is my rough draft here, and I just have like a small copy of it. So my goal today is going to be to get through the rough drafts of every single one of these, and then we'll kind of see where that goes. I hope you guys are having an excellent Tuesday. it'll be interesting. Again, I'm kind of doing a lot of streaming, so it'll be interesting to see if anyone shows up. This is a little bit of a different time for me, but I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a good stream. Um, so I'm going to start with Elizabeth here, and I noticed that I have Elizabeth pretty much in color here. So we're going to go ahead and just continue to lay out shading for the page. And I want to just show off one thing that Frank Salazar showed me the other day. He made a meme based on, I did a couple videos. I don't always get spicy. On a few of these videos, I got kind of spicy and kind of talk crap on Tim Pool. And one of my critiques of him was like, when you watch him, he kind of feels like that Steve Buscemi character, you know, who like walks up to the kids with a skateboard over his shoulder and is like, "Hey there, fellow cool kids." There's something about his presentation that just seems to be begging people to think he's cool. And so I was joking that about that, and Frank sent me this in Messenger. Let me show you guys. And that cracked me up. He made this where it says, "Hey there, fellow youths," or "How do you do, fellow youths?" I think that's hilarious. So anyhow, there we go. That was Frank's bit. I thought that was pretty hilarious. So it's a pretty good day. It's funny. I really thought today was the day of doom, the day where well, not day of doom, but like a big meeting was happening today, and it turns out it's happening tomorrow at 10:30. So I'm very excited. I'm still very excited about that meeting. Very hopeful about it. And we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, I have to get this page done before I can do anything else. And it's quite the page. Might be possibly the most complicated page. Maybe the only page I can think of prior to this that might have been more complicated than this was the park scene. There was also another one where we had to show a city-wide view of Italy, and there was like a protest going on. That was a bit of a challenge. But this one in particular, I think because it's like a mid shot, like it's wide, the establishing shot shows the whole location, but because it's close up enough to where if I didn't draw all the figures, it would kind of look weird, even if I just indicated them. I think this ended up being probably one of the most challenging of all the pages. That first panel. But I feel good about it. Like, that makes me feel really good about this page. I think it'll be pretty stunning when people see it. I want to establish that the lighting is mostly coming from the stage. So right now I'm going to do kind of some generic, almost like sculpting tones to Elizabeth's hair. And then I will probably darken the lower portion of her hair because that would be more kind of blocked by her back. But first we're just going to do this basic, hair and kind of see where we go from there. So I feel kind of reinvigorated with this comic. I feel like Jim had made a suggestion. My friend Jim Lujan had made a suggestion maybe a month ago, where he was saying, "Hey, maybe you should change things up a little bit." In the sense that he could tell I was getting a little burnt out, and so he was like, "Hey, maybe just mildly change up, your habit." So, like in the case of this, maybe instead of 5 pages, do 10 pages, or instead of where you'd usually be doing pencils, do roughs, or, like just change something up mildly to kind of make it interesting again. And so I ended up, I've been doing this comic where I do batches of 5 pages of roughs, and then I work on finals. And instead this time I kind of changed it up, not drastically, but I just decided, okay, I'm going to do 10 pages of roughs and then work on finals. And honestly, I think the trick worked because I am feeling really reinvigorated with the comic. Like it's irritating, it's time consuming, it's kind of hard, but at the same time, like I'm feeling it, like I'm really into it, and that's a hard thing. 79 pages into something. Closer you get to 100, it's like you start feeling like ugh, which makes me, take my hat off, my metaphorical hat. I don't wear hats all that often. I wear them sometimes. But it makes me want to take my hat off for people who do like 1,000-page books. It's quite an undertaking. You have to kind of admire it. But now, especially I think this tends to happen when you start actually getting into making comics and seeing like how labor intensive they are. Your respect for people who actually just knock out really big comics all the time goes like through the roof, because it's just like, how do people manage to get thousands of pages done? It's kind of stunning. But I will say there's this saying among cartoonists where it's like, hey, you got to get through your first 1,000 pages. And I think I'm getting closer. I think if I combined, the short comics that I've done, the anthology comics, the graphic novels, I think I might be getting a little close to that mark. And that's pretty cool. But on a single project, that's like an incredible thing. If somebody's managing to knock that out, they're firing on a different level. So I feel like the nice thing about getting that first panel done is like everything after that's going to feel like child's play. It's just like it shouldn't be quite as close to impossible to kind of get finished. I'm just going to tone the back of this hair here. I want to kind of pull this back a little bit. Like, because again, they're going to be in the audience. They're like barely there. Um and I really want to reflect that with the shadows. I think that'll work. And then I think maybe we'll do just a mild bit of shadow here on her leg. But I want it to be real, like pushed back. And I think that's getting a little closer to where we want to be. But it's pages like this that are making me really enjoy the style that I've picked for this. It's like a different um, direction than I've gone before, like art wise, for a comic. And I think that makes it really fun and kind of different, interesting. But there we go. We got Elizabeth all worked out, tone wise. And my plan is do the same with Robert. They're going to be in the foreground. Again, I'm looking at my rough just to again, on my roughs, I like to work out the lighting um, as well as kind of the rough composition, because that helps out quite a lot when it comes to the final, because I have a little comp of like what I want it to look like. So we're going to kind of make that work. It's fun having Frank on last night. I feel like I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he's a very valued guy. Frank's been modding for my channel for quite a few years, And aside from modding for my channel, he's just like a pleasant guy who really loves comics. And honestly, a pretty nice dude, too. So it was pretty fun to have a conversation with him and kind of catch up, see how he's doing, see that he's getting really into. He talked about like Toastmasters. And that was really interesting to me. How he's taking these kind of like speech classes that are, it's like a speech club kind of thing, and it's been really helping him with public speaking, and I think that's really exciting. Now what I want to do is just kind of roughly shade Robert, as if the light is kind of coming from the stage again. And I want to be a little bold with shadow, but I don't want to black it out so much that when we get to color, we're barely going to be able to see color. But I don't mind being a little more bold with this. And we're just doing it in sections, almost treating it as if we're almost like airbrushing, Man, I gotta say, California has been insanely hot the past few days. It's been like unbelievable heat waves. It feels like almost every day, um, which has been really fascinating and kind of makes me really thankful that we have a functional air conditioning system because oh my gosh, it's insane out there. I stepped outside like maybe a minute or two before starting to stream, and I instantly felt all the moisture, uh, basically like just disappear from my skin. Jim said, "Speaking of hot, look, it's Joshua Kemble." Nice, thank you, Jim. Thanks. How's everything going, Jim? I used to do a show with Corey called 48 Hour Art Check, where we would kind of hold each other accountable. We'd meet up like every other day and talk about what we had accomplished, what we were trying to do, and what we were going to do to kind of try to make it happen. And we haven't done like an accountability thing in a while. And there's been talk amongst friends of starting like a little private accountability group. It wouldn't be like a thing we stream. But just to annoy Corey Kerr, I think we should officially call this the Accountabilabuddies, because I used to make that joke to Corey, and he absolutely hated that term, accountability buddy, and I think it's freaking hilarious. So Gary, Jim, do I have your vote? Do I have your approval, your tacit approval for accountability buddies? We could even have a theme song, and it could be like a 1980s, like "You don't want to give up, you gotta have accountability buddies," and it could have just crazy, I don't know. There should be. I feel like there should be a guitar solo. You know, I feel like there should be a guitar solo going on with that as well. What do you think, Gary? You down? You don't want to get on accountable. I don't know, but you gotta like. It would really have to sound like a gonna go back in time kind of song. Power of Love. I think Jim should make that song about the accountability buddies. Jim said I'm in. Cool. Because if we all agree, and then Corey's like, I don't know about it. It's like, hey, Corey, we're all on the same page. We're calling this accountability buddies. And Corey, if he watches this back after the fact, is going to be like, Josh. It'll be so good. And then the great thing is, then because Corey hates the name so much, if he has to go to like an accountability buddy meeting, he'll have to actually tell his wife that. He'll be like, "Look, hon, I gotta show up for the accountability buddy meeting, you know? Like yeah, I like it. So accountability buddies for life. That's all I'm saying." Jim says he's in. I think Scott will be down. I think we can make this happen. Gary, I noticed your silence in the chat. Are you going to be the dissenter who's like, I don't know about accountability buddies, dude? But I really want to make a song about it, you know, that's like, I think that would be fun to have a theme song. Even if it was offline, you know, just like a rad 80s theme song. Eye of the Tiger style, like motivational song about buddies holding each other accountable. Gary said, "Are my chats not showing up? Did you have chats that didn't show up?" Jim said, "Can we use a teddy bear as the logo?" I love that. That's even better. That's even better. Cuz it does sound like the name of like a teddy bear, you know. Like, "What's this?" You know, like I go into Ben's room and I'm like, "Hey Ben, what's this?" And he's like, "That's my accountability buddy." Accountability buddies. Yeah, it's going to happen. I'm here all night, guys. If anyone listening wants to bother to make an Accountability Buddies theme song for us, that sounds like a proper 80s, you know, montage kind of song. I'm thinking Frank Salazar should make one for us. Yeah, Jim said teddy bear with a headband and a lightning bolt. I love it. Yeah, he'd have like a what would he have? Like yeah, he'd definitely have to have like the 80s headband. It would almost it should almost be like the Karate Kid headband. And maybe like I can find out how you spell accountability in like a kanji, and like that could be on the forehead of the of it. It could be the kanji for accountability on like on the forehead of the teddy bears like headband. How's it going, Philip Chandler? We're talking about potentially having a secret accountability group that we would call Accountability Buddies. And trying to organize a theme song. How are you, Philip? Very serious business going on here. We're very serious minded folks. Very, very serious. You guys, this is a very serious stream. No goofiness. Just sheer accountability buddies. Doing what we do, you know? By the way, Jim, I think the teddy bear is a good idea because it passed the My Barometer test. You know, like basically whenever Jim titles one of his movies, there's a test he does where it's like if My cracks up, he nailed it. He got it right. And I have to say, the second I said teddy bear for the logo, I heard my snickering in the background. Snickering, like a candy bar. Okay. I don't know. I was trying to think of something with snickering. It didn't quite work out. Jim said, "Get on that logo, Josh. Throw in a trident for good measure." Trident. Bear holding a trident with a headband that has a kanji for accountability on it. And he's got to have like a little t-shirt. Maybe the t-shirt actually says Accountability Buddies with like a rainbow on it. And or no, a lightning bolt. And then the t-shirt has cut off sleeves because he's a rad teddy bear, you know? Anyone who's bored and wants to draw the Accountability bear, you now have the prompt. Go forth and go wild. Be wild and courageous, members of the Kremlin. Be wild and courageous.
I'll wait for you. I'm waiting for you to hit play again.
But I do feel like the Accountability song could be a real hit. I think we'd have a hit song on our hands there. You know what I just saw the other day? I had forgotten about this. There was this period in time where I used to watch SpongeBob SquarePants. And I was way too old to be watching SpongeBob SquarePants. But I just thought it was hilarious. I was in college and I was like, this show is amazing. It was like a really good show. And I remember there's an episode where I think Squidward or something has like he has like an orchestral competition for like a football game, and he has to do a showdown with like another conductor, and it ends up turning into like an 80s montage like hairband song. And I looked that up the other day. Now I'm forgetting what it was called, but it was kind of amazing. Philip said, if I could send you some, I would, Paul. Since the price of bread went way up, I started making it cheaper. It's cheaper and so much better. Oh, making bread. Dude, I have heard that like homemade bread is not only cheaper, but it's like way more delicious. How long does it take? Do you have a bread maker, Phil?
There you are.
Because we actually have like a bread maker, I think, in the house, and I've been meaning to try that out. It's like a family member's that they left here, and I've been meaning to crack that thing open and bake some bread, because I feel like somewhere in my blood it must be a baker, because my grandpa was a baker in World War II. He was a Navy ship baker. He baked on a ship. He was also missing fingers from working at a bakery. I think like one of the auto slicers was just like chikung chikung chikung, and he like went there and lost a couple fingers. But he's from that era of time where like people would just lose a limb or something, and they're like, "Oh well, that was an interesting experience." Like, it was weird. He'd tell the story and be like, "Yeah, that's how I lost my fingers, so whatever." It's like so casual. I think to most people in my generation, if you lost your hand, you'd be like, I lost my hand, man. I lost my fingers. And it's like for my grandpa, it was just like, yeah, still have 6 left. Used to have 10, now I got 6. Meh. I mean, that's why they come in 10s, so you can lose a few, It was just funny to me how casual he was about it. But he was a darn good baker. Like, he used to make little pastry treats when he'd come over when we were kids. He'd make these bomb pastries. Philip said, I do use a bread maker. It's super easy. Just throw the ingredients in and the machine does the rest. The machine takes 3 to 4 hours, though. Okay, well, that's not too bad, though. So where do you look up the ingredients? Just online? That's what I'm kind of curious about. This is how naive I am about baking. I was joking that baking must be somewhere in my blood. I don't know if it is. Paul said, make some cracked wheat. Wheat bread is one of my favorite breads. I never understood why people prefer white to wheat. Although I will say this. When it comes to baked bread, like the really cheesy like white bread that you get at the store that costs like nothing and it's just air. It's like overpriced air. That's like not as good as the wheat. But when you get to like actual homemade bread, like homemade white bread is pretty bomb. Like it's pretty great. Anyhow, welcome to the bread stream. We're going to talk about bread all day long. I'm just kidding. This is an art channel.
I just landed right on your.
Oh, okay. Philip said the bread maker came with baking instructions. You can find them online too. Okay, because the one we have was like family members. And so I don't think it has any baking instructions on it. But I bet I could find those instructions online. That actually sounds fun. Now I think I'm going to actually make that a goal. Maybe this week I'll try to bake a loaf of bread. Because I'd imagine the cost is like substantially lower too. And it's like way healthier. And if it's something where you just throw in the ingredients and then 4 hours later open it up, kind of like, you know, that actually sounds pretty rad. But good on you, Philip, for making homemade bread. Now I wish we were neighbors because I'd just go over to your place and just steal bread.
Yeah, I already have it.
And I'd sing the song like Hunger Strike when I went over there.
I do not have map 7.
I'd like knock on the door and you'd hear this like ba-down, down, ba-down, down, and I'd be like knocking on the door. I don't mind stealing bread from the mouth. Yep, that's what I would do. And then, like, if you didn't open, I'd be like, I'm going hungry. Yeah. Philip, I guarantee you probably wish we were neighbors now, huh? Have somebody singing Hunger Strike at like 2 a.m. at your doorstep, asking for bread. Like, I could probably pull off some of the Eddie Vedder parts, but the Chris Cornell parts, I would try really hard. I think that would tempt you to actually give me the bread so I'd leave. Because I'd do the, I'm going hungry, yeah! And you're like, dude, you can't even hit that note. I'm like, I know. Give me the bread. The bread of life. I'm here all night, guys. Did I accidentally do that on the same layer? That was supposed to be on a separate layer. How dare I? How dare you, sir? Not you, but me. That was me talking to me in the past. How dare I do that? Okay, there we go. We're going to do it on a different layer. Paul said I put some buns in the oven. Paul, every time, Paul, I love it. Philip said, only thing is, fresh bread doesn't stay fresh as long as store bought, so you have to finish it within a couple of days. I would definitely give you some if I could.
Sorry, I don't.
Well, I bet it's awesome because I love homemade bread. One of my favorites is homemade banana bread or banana nut bread. It's like something about freshly baked banana nut bread with like butter melted on it. And that's kind of where my heart could rest for a while. So we have panel 2 coming along quite swimmingly, much quicker than panel 1. But I'm still really happy with how panel 1 came out. Let me turn off the thing so you guys can see it. See that panel? That's a beautiful panel. I feel good about that panel. That's right, Paul. Banana nut bread. That's right.
I said that in the chat.
It's got bananas and nuts. Okay.
I already am talking to you. You already text Ben.
Nice, Philip. When did you get the bread maker? Now I'm so, like, now I want to make bread. I think I might do that like tonight. I might just look up the ingredients. It's going to be like 12 midnight. My wife's going to be like, go to bed. I'm going to be like, no, the ingredients for the bread. I must I must make it.
Apparently wouldn't even let me jump that high.
But it does seem a shame that we have that maker and we haven't used it, you know? Because it's like that can be so tasty. I think it's healthier too, right?
Do you have enough money?
Paul said panel 1 is amazing. Thanks. Yeah, that's my trick. That's going to be the one awesome panel in the entire comic. People are like, why should you buy this comic? And I'm going to say page 79, panel 1. That's why.
Okay.
They're like, well, what about the other panels? Just panel 1, page 79. Trust me. Oh, nice. Philip said, I actually got it at a thrift store before COVID, but it sat for 2 years. And then when the price of bread went way up, I decided to pull it out and start using it. Nice. It does feel like the cost of food has gone ridiculously higher.
I actually did choose the right one. Or maybe I did.
The food is too dang high.
Right next to another player.
Who was that guy who did the rent is too high back in the day with the funny mustache? And
yeah, I'm on map 6. Yeah, I'm on map 6.
anyhow, I'd be curious to remember that guy's name. He was amazing.
Let's go.
Benji just did a Mario Let's Go. That's awesome.
What? Yeah, I jumped.
Paul Pate said, Philip is like a Jedi, making Josh make bread for my sandwich. Nice. And then Paul also said, I decided to pull it out and start using it. Nice, Paul. Nice. And then Paul said, okay, I need to stop. It's okay. Yeah, Philip said, I posted a meme about that guy. I'm just drawing a blank on his name. Yeah, I can't remember that dude's name. It's like this big deal. I think that's back when, do you guys remember Anthony Weiner before he was a creep? He was like one of my favorite people in Office.
I think I have an idea.
And then turned out to be just like this total creep store. And I was like, man, like, have you ever had that where you like really like a politician or something? You're like, this guy is actually pretty cool. And then you find out they're like a complete creep store. And you're like, oh, great. Great.
I already left.
Jimmy McMillan? Was that his name?
All right.
Okay, so we're basically shading this magician on stage. And the light's going to be coming from the front a little bit.
Sorry, I didn't reach that character. Yeah.
Now I'm like, all I'm thinking about while I'm working is bread. That is awful. I might have to leave the stream soon. Not like right now, but like I might tone like 2 pages and then Google how to do bread. Just sheer curiosity.
And the one that looks real is fake.
Jim said, shading a magician on stage sounds like I'm haggling him. Yeah, I'm like, what's going on? What are you doing with those cups and bowls? I got some bowls for you. And like that kind of thing. He is doing a trick. This is for Paul, okay? He is doing a cup and ball trick, okay? It's actually what Bosco is most known for.
It's a cover-up.
Have fun with that, Paul. That was a gift for you.
It says the kill bricks aren't really kill bricks. Yeah, look.
Paul talking about Anthony Weiner, which, by the way, again, you'd also think with that last name, if my last name, I mean, I'm sure this must have been done as a joke at the time. It's been so long. But if your last name is actually so easy for just a perfect headline, if you get caught for misconduct, why would you not do everything within your power to just not do something creepy that could allow that last name to be like every headline playing the obvious joke, you know? Paul said, yeah, why did he weird out? And he said, happens to all the people I like. He said, I like John Adwords, the guy who impregnated another woman while his wife was dying with cancer. That's right. I forgot he did that too. I think just to get involved in politics, people must be a little nuts. I mean, I don't think they're all the same level of nuts. Yeah, that's the thing. Paul was saying Anthony Weiner jokes write themselves. You don't even have to tell them. That's my point. And like, if you have a name like that, I would just think with a name like that, like every political advisor, you know, you'd ever come across would be like, whatever you do, man, do not end up in a scandal where the obvious joke becomes a thing because it's so obvious.
All right, I'll continue on this hobby. I'm going to move my
Nice. Accountability buddies has to happen.
See what the stage parts are.
And I love the idea of the teddy bear. We have to make this reality. We have to make this a reality.
My movements. And trying not to fall off.
Nice. Paul said it's kind of like the cup and ball jokes. Just laugh at the jokes I'm not telling you. Exactly. There's some jokes. One of my favorite. I've told you guys about this book series called "Off to Be the Wizard" by Scott Meyer. I absolutely love it. I got Corey into it too. It's such a good series. But anyhow, there's this constant thing where this group of wizards, you pick a staff to be a wizard, and you have to like have like a handcrafted staff to be like a proper wizard in these books. And one of the rules for the wizards is when you're using your staff, you can't make the obvious joke. It's pretty hilarious. Philip said, now I have the Tony Weiner to the tune of Tiny Dancer in my head. I love it. I love it. All right. So here I'm going to have the shadow kind of cast away a little bit. But we're making progress, and I think we might finish this panel pretty soon, which I'm pretty excited about. Pretty rad to make progress on things. I feel like there's this ebb and flow to art where when you take on something a little ambitious, there's kind of like a weird dread throughout the process where you're like, oh man, am I wasting time? You know, like, I don't know if that happens to you guys, but I definitely have that. There's usually about a halfway point where I'm like, what am I doing? Right. But there's this magical part where you get like a certain amount in and you're like, oh, wow, this actually works. Like a surprise, you know? And it's like, it's going to come out okay because you've had enough experience, right, doing art. But it's like there's still to this day, I still have that brain point, that point where my mind, even though I like rationally know if I stay with this, it's going to come out okay. Like I know it, but I like still have that feeling every once in a while. Even though I know the feeling's wrong. It's like funny how that kicks in. I don't know if you guys get that. So this kind of getup that this assistant is wearing is literally from his assistant or his old partner, magician. And it's actually a black outfit. So I want to make it very dark, but we'll color it something other than black. But I do want to show that it's dark, you know? And now, Philip, I'm thinking about bread and I have Tiny Dancer stuck in my head. So I'm thinking about bread loaves dancing, like loaves of bread just singing to me saying, "Hold me closer." And I'm like, I need to make bread. I need to make homemade bread. This needs to happen. Landon Huber said, "What's up, Josh? How's it going, Landon? How you doing, my dude?" What are you working on? I'd imagine it's something cool. So we're just kind of working through here, shading this panel. Again, like the floor hasn't been shaded or anything like that. Pretty happy with how the top came out. Can't wait to kind of get a little further, see how this whole thing goes. You'll also notice that there's like a total perspective cheat on this where I actually pulled the stage thinner than it actually is. And that was very intentional, where I wanted to kind of cheat it and force the viewer to really focus on the stage. So the stage has literally shrunk. If you were to film this shot wouldn't work. But I'm taking advantage of the fact that I think with the shading and everything else, I think that the cheat will work to kind of further advance the story. Lyndon said right now doing day job crap, doing cool Halloween trees on my Etsy shop in the background. Hey, cool Halloween trees. Sounds pretty amazing. Philip said my whole apartment smells like fresh bread. Really, there is nothing like it. Yeah, that's the other thing about freshly baked bread is the smell is like one of the best smells on the planet is just the smell of freshly baked bread. Freshly baked bread. Paul said, "Thanks for sharing your joy." Did this all start from Paul lamenting his lack of bread for his sandwich? And now Philip is just ad nauseum talking about the joys of the bread at his apartment. He's like, I just have bread. Like a hip hop artist, he's just like bragging about his wealth of bread. Philip's next video is going to be him with like a loaf of bread on a chain around his neck. And he'll be like, yeah, bread life. Throwing like slices of bread like money in a hip hop video. This needs to happen. Philip, you got to do a hip hop bread video where you're just like all breaded out, just covered in loaves of bread. You're like, I can't. I just have too much bread. I can't. Can't even handle how much bread I have. All right. Let's see here. Philip said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to make it seem like I was rubbing it in." Nah, Philip, I don't think anybody took it that way. I'm just goofing around. Not at all. I think actually, honestly, I'm really excited about it because it sounds really good. Sounds really flippin' delicious. Paul said Philip has bread life tattooed on his chest. Wait, how many slices are there usually on a loaf of bread? It's like the Meatloaf album, except it's bread loaf. It's just a loaf of bread on like a motorcycle. Okay. I'm actually really digging how this is coming out. So now I'm going to do the stage area behind them. It's kind of matching a little bit of the plan, the master plan that you can kind of see to the right. Make sure this is on a different layer. Good. So right now what my plan is to do is kind of accentuate the lighting here. And let's do nice. Philip was saying, I'm doing a stream tomorrow night. I think I'll start it with eating a sandwich. You should eat a sandwich with like 4 loaves of bread. You're just like, just to show Paul who's boss. You're like, hey, I thought I'd make a sandwich with both your bread and mine on it because I'm the bread master. That would actually be kind of amazing if can you imagine musicians getting in a literal bread beef? Well, I guess it wouldn't be literal, but a bread beef where they're just comparing how many loaves of bread. This is a world I want to live in. All right. I think we've had enough fun with the bread topic. I think.
I did not call your name.
All right, so
Literally won't let me skip this game.
We're getting a little bit further. I want to make sure that I'm still keeping this lighting. In fact, actually, a lot of him got kind of covered here. I want to make sure we're keeping that nice and clear. Nice. There is one thing I'm not happy with, which is how this is ending. I think I had too wide of an eraser going. So let me make it overlap just a little bit. And then we'll redo that cleanup of that section. Fire wheat, not bullets. So, Philip, is it hard to do like sourdough bread? I'm not much of a sourdough guy, but my wife likes sourdough. So now we've got almost the whole panel shaded. Philip said, yeah, this is supposed to be about Josh's amazing work here. No, I think it's supposed to be. This is the breadcast. And honestly, I'm really excited about the idea of making bread. I'm going to have to pull that bread maker out. You got to hold me accountable for that. Accountabilabuddies. Someone needs to hold me accountable to making bread. Maybe I'll try that as like a little thing tomorrow. So the meeting that I was getting ready for this morning turned out to be something that's tomorrow. And then what else is tomorrow is, for the first time, you know what's funny? I never go to movies. Like literally, well, I was going to say literally and misuse that. I barely ever go to movies in theaters. I think it's been like 3 years since I've seen a movie in the theater. I think it might actually have been like 3 years. But I want to see Oppenheimer because it sounds super fun and interesting. And it's like that weird nerdy physics stuff that I dig. And so I think I would like, I'm going to probably end up going to see that tomorrow night with a couple friends. Oh, wow. Philip said you need to go get some yeast. It's the most expensive ingredient, but it makes like one small jar makes like 10 loaves of bread. Wow. Holy moly. So anyhow, I'm going to see Oppenheimer because America, that's why. No, it's a great, it's funny. It is one of those things I've always been a little mystified somebody hasn't made a movie about that. So it definitely is one of those, wow, well, yeah, they need to, you know. Because I mean, it's just fascinating, you know. Nice. Philip said I saw it last night. It was amazing. Long, but very good. Well, long isn't good because I don't have time. But I don't know. Maybe it'll be good for me to get out of the house. My wife was suggesting that the other day because I tend to work a lot, and I think she was like, "Dude, you need to like not work for a little bit." But I'm like, I like working. It's kind of a weird thing. I like hate working. It's both. It's kind of a mix. Okay. Let's see if this is kind of working. Okay, there is a little bit of this. And then this will sort of become gradually darker here. And then we're going to go over it and erase out the sections here. Is there like a weird thing that went over her lip by accident that I didn't notice before? There is. It's one of these layers. We'll find it. Where's that thing on her lip? It's somewhere. It's one of these layers. I don't think it's that far back either. I think it was when I was doing the... There, kind of? Oh, there it is. Haha! Found you. Found you, shadow on lip. Weird lip shadow thing. Okay. Let's get back to it. And here we go. So I think I'm going to eat dinner after finishing this panel, and then I will come back and live stream, likely again after eating. And I'm pretty darn sure we're like done with this panel. Well, not quite. There's one other thing I want to add real quick. Because this should get slightly lighter here. And then I think what we'll do is just one more pass above it, so that it gets real dark down here. But there's like a clearer differentiation.
Sorry, I wasn't responding. I wasn't there because I was in the bathroom. Sorry, I should have told you.
And there we go.
What?
And I don't want to make the mistake of too much detail here, so I want to... There we go. It's just like a subtle... That's much better to me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the lines, and then we're going to merge these. Merge visibly. And now we have 2 panels on this beast of a page. Paul said, my wife is going to walk me now. Landon said, are you a workaholic, Josh? Yes, I am. I am constantly a workaholic. Oh, nice. Philip said it's a 3-hour movie, so make sure my bladder is empty. Well, I guess that means I'm taking a break tomorrow, which is kind of exciting. No prune juice before Oppenheimer, says Paul. I love it. Well, thanks, guys. If you watch this and you haven't yet, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you can, just take like 2 seconds to hit the like button. It really goes a long way. I appreciate you guys. I feel like there was a lot of really good discussions of bread, which have made me very hungry for dinner. So I'm going to go eat, and then I will come back and we will rock and roll more. So good luck. Enjoy your walk, Paul. Thanks, Philip. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Landon. Thanks to Paul. I think I named everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. Oh, Gary as well. Thanks, guys. And I will see you guys on the next live stream, probably in like an hour or so, where we'll finish this page. Bye.